Hey everyone, this is Mark Tinlow with a video on vegan activism and more specifically the Bill of Animal Rights, which I'm going to try and define in this video. So I have 5 basic and inalienable rights that animals should have, which was taken from a poster promoted by Direct Action Everywhere. So it's not my original animal rights bill, but it is a very important set of rules which I'm going to define out for you. So, just as a general preamble, there are 8 billion animals slaughtered every day for human consumption. That includes land animals and sea animals. There are 56 billion land animals slaughtered every year, including particularly cows, pigs, chickens, and fish, and sheep. And this amounts to a huge logistic problem as well as a, a great amount of suffering on the animals' part, because when there are so many animals, they become a product and they become property rather than being sentient beings with individuality and personal preferences. So that's why most animals are very badly cared for on the farm. And that's also why animal agriculture is unsustainable. So animal agriculture is bad for the animals because they live very short and sufferant lives. It's bad for the environment because rearing animals on land contributes to all sorts of problems like deforestation, land degradation, erosion, and the climate change crisis, because cows, for example, emit methane gas. And thirdly, it's bad for human health. When people eat animal products, they become unhealthy. They acquire conditions such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and many other types of human illness, which leads them to lead terrible lives and short lives as well. So the first right that I want to talk about on the Bill of Animal Rights is the right to be rescued. We see on the news a lot of vegan activists who are arrested and restrained from rescuing animals that populate, factory farms and so on. But these animals are very badly cared for. No one cares about their rights and their right to happiness in particular. We see cows who are impregnated, have their babies stolen from them, who have their milk stolen from them, and are led to the slaughterhouse at a very early age. And typically 5 years of age for dairy cows, and even less for cows bred for meat. So that's just one example of the many types of animals who are needlessly bred and slaughtered every year. So to rescue them is not just a right for the animals because they deserve to be rescued, but it's also a symbolic representation of justice on this planet. Although activists may not be able to rescue every single animal, there are so many of them, and there's such a huge problem that we have to start attacking this problem. And the first thing that we have to do is to rescue animals from peril and from sufferant lives, which they're obviously living on factory farms. The second right I want to talk about is the right to a protected home or habitat. So when activists take animals up and rescue them, the first thing that they do is put them in a sanctuary so that they feel free and happy. But that's a right that should be afforded to all animals, regardless of where they are. So if they're on factory farms, if they're stuck in cages, if they are stuck in terrible places, very cramped sow barns or sow stalls, if they don't have a good home and a place to roam, then they are living terrible lives, and that's how many of them actually do live. When we talk about free-range chickens, for example, a lot of these chickens are still in cramped sheds, and they have no freedom whatsoever still to stretch their wings. Even if their lives are slightly better by having, outdoor passes to roam and so on, at the end of the day, after about 7 weeks, they're still slaughtered for meat, and it's still a violation of their rights. So that's the second right that I want to bring up. Also, the fact that a lot of koalas, for example, the wildlife in Australia, is being cramped for room due to deforestation occurring at such a huge rate. Clearing land for animal agriculture is the number one cause of deforestation, and koalas, for example, are losing a lot of their habitats because they don't have any trees to live in, because they're all being cleared. So it in turn entails that deforestation has to be limited, severely limited compared to what it is at the moment, and that's an inalienable right for animals, because animals deserve a protected home or habitat. The third right is the right to be represented. Animals are individuals, they have personalities. Although you might say, an oyster doesn't have as much personality as another animal, like a pig or something. All animals have individuality, and they all have the ability to think and to suffer. So, whilst eating an oyster is not quite as bad as eating a piece of bacon, for example, it's still a bad thing, and it's not something that animal rights activists would ever do. So representing animals means that we represent all of their interests. We don't even eat things like honey, because bees have personalities, they have complex behaviors, they are part of nature, and they make their own honey for themselves. So why should we steal it from them? They have a right to be represented. That's the third right. The fourth right is the right to not be killed by humans. Humans are the biggest killers on this planet and the biggest destroyers of this planet, because there are so many of them. And overpopulation has become a significant problem in this world. And that's why I'm an antinatalist as well as being a vegan. Humans have the right, so animals have the right to live out their lives freely and not be killed by humans. Although they may have predators in the wild, this may be a part of nature. And while lions, for example, kill zebras because they're obligate carnivores and have to kill in order to survive, humans are not in the same position. Humans just have to go to the supermarket just to get their food. And for that reason, there's no reason why animals should be killed by humans, except perhaps on the off chance that they need to be euthanized for some reason, or they have a serious terminal illness. In that case, maybe that's a case in which humans might kill an animal. But apart from that, there is no need for humans to kill animals at all. And the last right I want to talk about, the fifth right, is the right to be free or have a guardian. Animals have the right to be free. They have a right to go where they please. They should be allowed to go where they please, and not be stuck in a cage. And they have the right, if they don't have the right to have families, they at least have the right to have connections with other animals. So although some animals should not be allowed to breed, which would be possible in an absolutely perfect world, animals still deserve the right to be free and to have a guardian. That could be a mother and or father, and or sisters or brothers, to live around and to enjoy their family life with. If not that, then if they live alone, they have a choice to make that. They should be able to make that choice to live alone. So I've covered those 5 rights. I'm going to go through them one more time. The first right I mentioned was the right to be rescued. The second right was the right to a protected home or habitat. The third right is the right to be represented. Fourth is the right to not to be killed by humans. And the fifth is the right to be free or to have a guardian. So all of these rights are important. None of them should be ignored. And if the United Nations and the governments were to come forward and take these rights and embrace them, the world would be a much better place. It's been in the news recently that Switzerland has banned the maceration of male chicks, which seems to be a positive step. Although I heard on one channel, Seb Alex's vegan activist channel, that they're still allowing the gassing of male chicks on the first day after birth. So that's a bad thing. Um, but as more governments and as more organizations embrace the ideal of a bill of animal rights, animals will start to lose the condition of sufferance on this earth, and the world will be a much happier and much more beautiful place. Thank you very much.